Welcome to Have a Seat, presented by La Fuente Hollywood Treatment Center, where we do a deep dive into addiction and mental health issues specific to the LGBTQ+ community. Equally important are the stories of recovery, stories that remind us of our shared humanity and the resilience of the human spirit. I am your host, Manny Rodriguez, and on today's episode, I sit down with actor, author, and artist Sean Hemeon, a man whose story is as heartbreaking as it is inspiring. Sean grew up in a Mormon household, came out at a young age, and was met with a devastating response from his mother. Sean's path was filled with trauma, addiction, and even drug trafficking. But Sean's story doesn't end there. He got sober, rebuilt his life, and today he's thriving as an actor. He also found healing through creating artwork, married the love of his life, and his wedding has a wonderful surprise that includes his mother. This is a story about pain, resilience, and reconciliation, and I can't wait for you to hear it. Welcome to Have a Seat, and please help me welcome my guest, Sean Hemeon. Hey, Sean, how are you?
I'm good.
You're good? You're good. I know it's a little warm in here, so thanks for bearing with me. I want everyone to know that Sean just helped me work through some technical stuff, so
yeah.
I hope this records, because if it doesn't, I'm going to be very upset.
Just do it again.
Yeah. But first of all, let me just say thank you so much for agreeing to do this with me. There's so much that we could talk about.
Yeah.
I've known you for 20 years at this point.
Yeah.
And so for the sake of time and to be concise, I want to just jump right into because there's just so much that we could talk about. Let's start right from the beginning. So you grew up in a Mormon household.
Yes.
Right? What was that like, and how do you think that shaped you as a person yourself?
Oh boy. I bashed the Mormons for so many years, but recently I've been thinking about like what are the qualities that are positive that they gave me. But to be clear, Northern Virginia, 80s, picture perfect.
So
Reagan
Utah.
Era. Mother came from Utah.
Okay.
Met a non-Mormon, which is like no, but she did. Actually, tiny little backstory there because it's fascinating. She was the belle of the ball at BYU, little Miss Beehive, and married to the football quarterback Star. And this guy turned out to be very, very abusive. So she left him, and then my grandfather, very Mormon grandfather, because she got a divorce, would not talk to her, even though this guy was abusive.
Wow.
And so, and that's when she met my father, who was very much not Mormon, raised Irish Catholic. I mean, made fun of the Mormons right from the beginning. But 4 months later, they got married. And then a couple years later, here I am.
So did he convert to...
Oh, God.
No?
It's my mom's fantasy, you know. She's ripe for Al-Anon.
Okay, so then, well, that's really interesting. So explain to me how your family, your parents navigated having a Mormon mother and a Catholic father?
Well, I would say, what's the word for somebody lapsed, like doesn't go to church anymore? Was definitely raised it, but it's just like they're lapsed with the thing. He was raised very much by his Irish grandmother and mother, and but definitely left all that behind.
So it was just he was Catholic by label, but not certainly by practice.
Correct.
Okay,
and so I think it influenced him growing up, like shame, guilt, that kind of fun stuff.
Right.
But growing up, my mother was like determined to raise her kids Mormon, and my father was just like, whatever.
Okay. How did that shape you? How did that influence you positively and negatively, both?
Well, majority was negative.
Right.
But positive, I mean, if anything, it did, even though it was an erroneous idea of God, it did open up my eyes to like what a relationship to God could be, especially as a young child.
So it's an introduction to something that was bigger.
Exactly right.
Okay.
Exactly right. But for my particular story, I was 3 older brothers, 3 younger siblings. Obviously the little gay boy in the mix. I don't know why I said obviously, but obviously.
Right.
And for me, it was all about my mother. It was all about my mother. I became her emotional sponge. I became her partner because my father was like a wood board. I mean, self-described wood board of emotion. So she came to me and just we were a relationship.
Right.
Sacrificing myself
Right.
onto the altar of my mother.
Right.
And what that looked like was, and as most gay boys go, being the best little boy in the world. For me, it was being the best little Mormon boy in the world, you know? And the payoff was that I beat up my brothers, all of my siblings. I was number one. My mother loved me the most. Look how overly responsible and shiny little Mormon boy I was, which, you know, I had to believe deeply in the Mormon faith in order for that to be true.
Right.
I was precocious and asked a lot of questions, and
Right.
they would always be like, you just need to pray more.
Right. So there's a narrative that's been set up for you as a young person who's sort of figuring out who you are. And the dynamic of your mother is very specific, and it's also a little bit competitive with your other siblings.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happens when you start to realize that your eyes wander somewhere in the room, and they're not wandering to maybe girls?
Well, oh, the devastation. Oh, the devastation. So, you know, in middle school, when those hormones started kicking in, still trying to be a good Mormon boy,
Right.
very much trying to be a good Mormon boy, and realizing, I might be different. My immediate, the meaning I took from that was, I did something so terrible to God that he won't even tell me what it is. Instead, he's cursing me with this disease of gayness, punishing me with this. That's what I believed. And I have to live with this thing because for some reason I'm the most awful person ever. So
did you understand what gay
No.
meant? So you felt something that was different, right? In terms of where your eyes went, or sort of like even sort of your attraction.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, like I do remember being like 10 years old, sitting on the couch. My mother and I, like the one thing we bonded over was Star Trek: The Next Generation. I'd watch it with her. My other siblings wouldn't. But like during one episode, it must have been 93, whenever the AIDS march was in DC, 93. Yeah.
It was 93 or 95. I can't remember, but
I want to say 93 because I think I was like 10. It was it was right before the hormones were kicking in.
Right.
And I remember because I grew up next to DC, the nightly news was like AIDS march in DC, and it showed footage of drag queens, men in leather. It showed like women holding hands, guys holding hands, and then my mother takes the remote and she goes, "Disgusting," bump, and turns it off. And I, not understanding what I was or where I was, I just remember like melting into the couch.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, I have a secret. I don't know what it is.
And your sense of security in the world has just taken away your sense of security.
Absolutely.
Right.
So at 13, when it was really, when my understanding of what was happening was really kicking in, I wanted to die. I didn't want to commit suicide because that was even worse than the Mormon Church. But like, I would fantasize about like, let me walk in traffic and see what happens. Like, if I just died today, I'd be fine.
Right.
You know, a 13-year-old is feeling that.
Did you tell anyone this, or was this sort of just?
It gets really bad because so 93, 94, 95, that's when the AOL internet chat rooms came around.
Right.
And there was a little bit of like excitement and thrill and freedom in like going into the M4M chat rooms and talking to some 15-year-old kid in Australia, if that really was a 15-year-old kid. But the first person I really started talking to about this happened to be a much older man.
Right.
And who validated the hell out of me and said, they have it wrong. You're okay. And I was like, oh, okay. So I kept talking to him, and you can see where this is going.
Right.
It got to a point where he bribed me with money, with cigarettes, because I was smoking at that point. I tried drinking at that point. So I must have been 14. And then So long story short on that, I probably was one of the first online predator victims. You know, I met up with him and the whole molestation. Like,
I'm really sorry that happened to you.
But that's just how the setup was.
Right,
I mean, this
right,
man
right,
was
right.
validating me, making me feel good. So it was so confusing, you know. And for years I would blame myself. Like I chose to go meet him, but you look at it with that lens of like, well, look how much validation he was giving you, and you weren't getting that. So
I get it.
Yeah, and so the result of that was just I tried harder to be a good Mormon, which just made me want to die even more. So this cycle was there. Right.
So all this is going on, right? And at some point, because I know that you have a close relationship with your mother, and we're going to get to that.
I do now.
And we love our mothers, right? Sort of those are the bonds that we have. And so you're reconciling all this. You're trying to make sense of this, but you are confused by the things that are happening to you as well. At what point did you come out to your parents or to your mother?
Officially 19. So a lot happened between 13 and 19 to get to that point.
Right.
By 19, I did have the courage to try suicide, and that was my outing. But there's a lot of context. I mean, I can briefly run over that.
I mean, you're super athletic.
Yeah.
Right. So did you play sports when you were?
Yeah.
So during these years, did you play sports? And because I know that we speak to a lot of people in our community, and one of the ways that they were sort of able to keep people at bay was they played sports, so no one really would think if you play sports, well, you can't be gay.
Correct, especially in the 90s.
Right.
Especially in the late 90s. Absolutely played sports. Not only that, though, with 3 older brothers who were very athletic, I was walking into a legacy.
Right.
The coaches knew of me before I even got there.
Right.
You know, my brothers rolled out because they were so popular, because they were sports stars, like the red carpet was rolled out for me and I just waltzed right into it, which I think to a straight boy would have been like, woohoo. For me, terror, because I was being thrust into a spotlight that I was terrified to be in because I needed to hide.
Right.
And what I should say is, what saved me, 2 things saved me at 13 wanting to die. One was the first time I got drunk by my older brother. And I was like, what is this? Wow, I feel good. I want more of this.
Right.
The other thing was meeting my undercover best friend boyfriend, because I fell in love with him so hard that it convinced me that if this feels so right, this can't be wrong, which was a bulwark against the Mormon God and my mother, and saved me. It, however, made him my God. And that was a whole, and talk about codependent closed circuit system. Nobody knew we existed. So all 4 years of high school, we were like undercover. I was trying to be football captain, homecoming court. He played sports, but then didn't. And so we were trying to make dating girls.
And this is in high school.
This is in high school, going on double dates. Watching him hook up with other girls and being jealous and having to go hook up with other girls and trying to just he even lived at my home junior year of high school because my mother's still thinking he's my best friend, and his home situation was incredibly abusive.
Right.
And so she took pity and brought him in and that kind of stuff. So all of that.
So were you having a full-on sort of like relationship while he's living in your house? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So imagine.
They were both consenting children. Or young people.
It's so funny to, in my mind, it's so romanticized, but then I think about it, I'm like, I'm romanticizing myself at 15, at 16. And I look at those, they're like children.
But
it's
it's part of growing up, and somebody who's your own age. I mean, that's also a very different thing than being in a relationship with an adult, right? It's
totally.
like you're both exploring yourselves and what interests you, and you're learning about the world. So then at some point you come out to your mother.
Yeah. So it's a funny story. I go to college. I like this. I started doing acting classes in high school, and that was the third thing that was like, ooh, what's this? This makes me feel good. I like this. But I couldn't decide enough. I needed to be the straight guy, so sports always won out from doing the productions. So when it came time to college, I was like, I'm going to keep doing this acting thing because it's fun. I didn't take it serious. I just was like, this is fun. Came to college, wasn't out, met some gay friends. This is kind of fun. Boyfriend, things falling apart, came to visit, liked one of my new friends, and he broke up and they went off together, which to this, tragic queen was like so devastating because, my longtime boyfriend left me for somebody else. Of course, there's other issues. I mean, we were blackout drunk, hurting each other. Like, we were not good.
Right.
And so the thing needed to end. This was the thing that ended it. So to get back at him, I was like, I'll show you hurt. And I was very dramatic and cut my wrists open. My mother found me. And the next day, I had to go see a psychiatrist because she had to examine the wounds. She said if I got stitches, I would be admitted, and so I didn't get stitches. But, it was one of the first people to also tell me that the problem isn't me. The problem is them, the world, my mother, that religion.
Thank God.
Ugh. But so encouraged me to come out. So right after that, at P.F. Chang's of all places, at like the Tyson's Galleria Mall, it's busy all around us. I come out to my mother. I come out to her.
And what was that like?
I didn't know how to say it. She knew about Derek. She knew.
Right.
Because, by the way, when he lived at my house junior year, my eldest brother, who was living in the other part of the basement, came home wasted, caught us, and beat the shit out of us.
I'm sorry.
So my mom had an idea. There's a happy ending to that. Maybe we'll get to it.
Yeah.
But you can imagine what that does to your
I'm so
thinking.
sorry, though.
It reinforced the self-loathing, all that other kind of stuff. But so my mother had an idea, and so I started by saying I had a bad breakup. Because she was, why did you do this to yourself? And then she knew where I was going, but you could also tell on her face where she just wanted to freeze time. She didn't want me to say what I was about to say, which was, it was, and I said his name, and she knew it. And so then I said, yeah, Mom, I like boys. I think I'm gay. And there's this long pause, and in my mind, I'm like, okay, well. A positive response would have happened by now. And then she gets very alarmed, and the very first thing she says was, "Do you have AIDS?" No, Mom. No, of course not. Like, what about grandchildren? Oh, church, and she just goes down the whole thing, panicking, and then she lands on, well, of course we love you and accept you, but just not the lifestyle. And lifestyle is Christian code for gay sex, so it's like, we love you, just not. You.
So how did that experience with your mom inform the next chapter, right? Because I think at this point you're already drinking, and would you say that you had already crossed into, not really having a choice on when you drank?
I was blacking out by the time I was 18.
So we're in full blown addiction and alcoholism. So at this point,
full on.
Right. And so do you feel like this exchange with your mom and not getting the response that you wanted from her, and the security, right, that warmth? Do you feel like that fueled maybe a little bit more of? Oh,
it was a turning point. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like my life is these chapters of when I was 4, my parents, we were moving to our new home, which was only like a mile away.
Right.
They completely forgot me, and I did the whole walk there. 4. I don't even, and when I showed up, the devastating part was they didn't even realize I was gone. Right. And my little brain was like, I don't matter to them, right. Which looked like clawing onto my mother from that point on and being the best little Mormon boy. So that was that first chapter. But in fighting my gayness to be in her light, in her love, in the Mormon love. So at 19, when I came out and her reaction, that was now me turning away from her entirely. I was like, well, F you, I don't need this anymore.
Right. And
I was like, they don't love me. And so I shunned them as much as they shunned me. You know, we kind of were like strangers existing in this house. I am lucky that, there's Mormon families in Utah that entirely kick their gay boys out. There's youth homeless shelters filled with, boys and girls kicked out because they like other boys and girls.
These are Mormon kids.
These are Mormon kids in Utah. Oh yeah. And so I'm fortunate that, that wasn't entirely the case, but still it was like, I abandoned them before they could abandon me again.
Right.
That's a better way of putting that.
Right.
And so, and then, yes, the alcohol, the drugs accelerated.
Right. So did you finish college?
No.
So you didn't finish
I did
college.
Recently, but that's a different part.
Right. Well, there's so much good stuff too, right? Because I think that there is just so much beautiful stuff that's happened as well. But this is your story, and I really wanted to be more familiar with it, and I definitely wanted to share it with a lot of people that, I know it will definitely help. So you go out into the world, there's a lot of stuff happening, there are war stories, Sean is trying to find himself, and at some point you get sober. What was the events that led you to getting sober? And the other thing I want to add to this too is, because I'm familiar with you as a sober person.
Yeah.
But there's this other part of your story
Yeah.
that deals with drug trafficking
Yes.
that I was completely unaware of.
Yes.
And so maybe you can
I'll try
tie
to
those things together.
sum-
And then we're definitely going to talk about the book that you're going to publish.
Okay.
Okay?
Which is more in depth of what I'm
Right.
about to summarize in a few minutes.
Okay.
That's for
Right.
sure. Because I was a party boy in D.C. I would go up from Richmond, where I was at VCU in Richmond, Virginia Commonwealth University at their theater department. And I started going up every weekend, partying. It was great. Experimented with party drugs at this point, cocaine, ecstasy, whatever, normal early 20-year-old kind of stuff. Pretty normal. Alcohol, not normal because I black out almost every time. And I started to hate cocaine because the second I would do it, I would just want more, like right away. Like I hated cocaine.
Right.
And then I started, experimenting with meth. But like terrified to try it and also like it was a dirty drug. And but my friend that I would commute with was an off-duty EMT, so I felt safe doing it with him. And anyway, to summarize this story, I ended up dating a drug dealer. A meth, just full-on addict tweaker. I didn't understand the addict world at all yet.
Right.
I just liked that this guy that everybody lifted up paid attention to me, plus the thrill of being in the underbelly. So I dated him while trying to do college, and all the consequences that you don't think will happen to you absolutely happened to me. Slowly, I failed out of college. We broke up. I was like, I can be a better dealer than you, which was crazy. And then he got me arrested, possession with intent to distribute. And since it was in D.C., it's automatically federal. And the agents, in so many words, honestly, were like, you need to keep doing what you were doing, i.e. dealing, and get us some information, or else you're facing, they threatened 10 plus years, but I don't think they could fully get that, but that's what I believed at the time. And by the time that happened, I had already left school. I was already using daily. Mm-hmm. I'm skipping over a lot of good stuff. It's all in the book. But what we need to know is I became a dealer for the federal government, and I needed to deal more drugs because everybody was paranoid to deal with me. So I would leave D.C., go down to Atlanta mostly, New Orleans, Fort Lauderdale, closer to the Mexican border. I would find, other gay suppliers, re-up, go on the plane and traffic.
And they're all aware of this, but so the federal government is aware that you're doing this right now.
They're aware without being aware. You know what I mean? They had me. I had the two agents in my phone as yes and no. I don't know why, other than like, no, don't rat. Yes, rat. Like I was also plagued with not wanting to rat on people. And I fed them false information sometimes.
Right. Let me connect the dots here for a second.
Sure.
So, life is messy. You're dating a drug dealer. You guys break up. You think that you can do it better than he can.
Yeah.
He gets you arrested.
Yeah.
The feds then tell you, hey, you know what? You need to keep doing this so that you can help us get other people.
Bigger people.
Right. Bigger people. You're not sober during this at all.
By this point, I'm daily using.
Okay, so you're daily
no
using.
sober breath for 9 months at this point.
And again, it's all in the book. So you're doing this, and you're turning some people in. I don't know. It's all in the book. At what point did you finally get sober?
Read the book, because there was an interaction with the Russian mafia. There was people dying. It was bad. August 8th of 2020. August 8th, my case was dismissed. I'm giving away the ending.
Okay.
And then 6 weeks later, I kept going, and I made the call to my mother.
Right.
I finally made the call. So
Right.
that's what did it.
Right. And by the way, the name of the book is The Good Little Drug Lord, and it's going to be published very soon. And when it does get published, you'll come back, I'm hoping.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and then you're going to just be on the circuit. I just know it because it's such a juicy, it's just like such a juicy good story, and I know it's either going to end up as a series or something. So I'm excited about that.
Yes.
So then you get sober.
Right, let's get sober.
Okay, so let's get sober. You call your mom. You were like, I'm in trouble. I need help.
Yes. And the beauty in that was I literally just said, Mom. and the emotion in my voice, she was like an activated sleeper cell. She was like, where are you? Like, she knew. Like, that was the call she's been waiting for. She knew. Mm-hmm. And she came and she got me with my dad. And then a few weeks later, I entered rehab, a 28-day treatment. I liked it because it was in Northern Virginia. I liked it because it was a place for professionals. And I was like, I'm a professional.
Okay, I think I know where that might be.
Harrison House of Virginia was that one. But then you'll know this one. And then I did outpatient at Whitman Walker for like 9 months. So I know you know Whitman Walker. And Kevin Neal there changed my life.
Right.
Yeah, it changed my life. Yeah.
So then you get sober. How old were you at this point?
I called my mother on my 23rd birthday.
Amazing. And you've been sober since?
The sober day is April 9th, and the reason is because I didn't understand sobriety.
Right.
When my mom picked me up, I slept for 2 weeks, and I was like, I'm going to rehab to stop doing meth, to stop dealing drugs. Right. I didn't understand about alcohol and weed and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, like my very first day in rehab, I'm in my bedroom doing inhalants because I didn't understand. And then I went to a 12-step meeting. I was like, oh, maybe there's something to this alcohol thing. And then I got out of rehab. I still did like inhale, like dust off, like, you know. And a friend was like, I don't think you're supposed to do that. And I was like, it didn't compute for me. And I'm saying dust off as opposed to like poppers, because I mean, it's a completely different classification. No, I know.
It's like when people do the whippets.
I'm not, exactly. Yeah, that to me is like a completely different high than like, I'm not judging people who do poppers that are in recovery, like, you know, you define it. But for me, when I went to Whitman Walker and they started me in a halfway house so I could start rebuilding my life, I shit you not. I walked in the front door on my very first day at the halfway house. I looked to my left. On top of the VCR is a can of dust off. I'm in a halfway house. Yeah. And I look at it and I'm like, well, clearly I'm supposed to use it. And I hadn't used anything in like months, right? And I used it that night. And then the next day I said to not Kevin Neal, the other counselor, I was like, yeah, I found this can of dust off and I used it. And the guy freaked out on me. You got to start your day count over. You got to do this. You're kicking out of that. I was in a rage. I was like, what are you talking about? My day count was all I had. And it was like, it was a fucking can of dust off. I was high for a minute. And so anyway, they kicked me out. And I was like, well, I'm going to go really use then.
They kicked you out?
They kicked me out. And so I was so pissed. That night, I went out. I called some old friends. I went out. I did GHB. I did meth. And also, I shit you not, I did it. I sat down on the couch, and it never worked. Right. And then I looked around, and I said to myself, I don't belong here. I stood up and walked out the door. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't do anything. And I got in my car, and I still very clearly to this day remember driving out of D.C., and I remember thinking to myself, this is it. I don't belong here, you know. This is over. So that was it, 4/09/2005.
4/09/2005. And you stayed sober. You were what, 23, 24 at this point?
23, yeah.
Which is a testament, right? Well, I mean, think about it.
Well, with that story,
but it's also, we've heard a lot of stories, right? So, you know Jason Dupuis, right?
Yeah, of course.
STDs. And so I had Jason on the podcast, and Jason got sober at 21 years old and stayed sober. And so we know, look, I work in the space of addiction treatment, and we know that, especially for young men, it's a much longer process in terms of, or there are various attempts. Yeah. So for someone to get and stay sober at 23 is a real testament that it is possible. Yeah. That it is possible. And it's really important for young men and young women to understand that just because you're young doesn't mean that you can't stay sober, and that life will stink and that you won't be able to do really cool things. Yes. So speaking of, right? So speaking of, you've stayed sober 2 decades. A lot has happened. Yeah. I met you at the beginning of your sobriety, and we've seen each other intermittently. And you know, today you're an actor, you're an artist, you're a husband. You're an author, well, you know, which is
I have a full life,
right? And so I want to talk a little bit about all those things. But the one thing I want to make sure that we talk about, and that is the relationship with your mother, right? And this wonderful experience that you got to have with her, when you married your husband.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a
Oh,
second.
beautiful. Okay. Leading into that, I will say Kevin Neal at Whitman Walker, he was the one that looked at me and said, you didn't get sober to sit on the sidelines.
Right.
He was the one like, you want to act? Go. Go to LA. And thank God I did, because the recovery here is phenomenal.
Right.
It just welcomed me in, and it was what I needed.
Right.
And so I was very grateful for that. It helped build me up, and it's still the best decision I ever made, getting sober and then moving to LA. But the more sober I got, the more painful it was to be around my mother.
Right.
You know, at the beginning, right when I got sober, it was her and I. We were best friends all over again. She drove out with me. She did the whole thing. 2008 happened. She divorced my father. She came out to California. 2008 happened. Prop 8 happened. She looked me in the face and she was like, well, yes, of course I'm voting for Prop 8. And my face just dropped. I was like, do you realize what you just said to me?
Right,
you don't
right.
believe I can marry the person that I love.
Right.
And she couldn't give me a response.
Right. And for younger people that may be watching this, right? So Prop 8.
Younger people.
Right.
You guys, this was like yesterday.
Right. But I mean, it was.
No, it's true. It's important.
Right.
It's
So
important. It's important.
Prop 8 was a proposition that was on the California.
Right. Yeah.
And if you voted no, it was so that we could get married. I think that's what it was. And
They
it was
were-
very confusing. And if you voted yes, it was against gay marriage. And
It was declaring
so you have
marriage
this
between a man and
moment
a
with
woman.
her,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Just so that we can clarify, it was a
Yep.
proposition pro or against marriage.
Yep.
And she says, of course, and you feel so betrayed, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Right.
And again, the more sober and recovered I got, the more difficult it was to, my tolerance for intolerable situations began to decrease. Right. And she was an intolerable situation. Her judgment, her shame, the way she existed, still as a practicing Mormon. So from that point on, it was... we got together for holidays, but it was still hard. She met boyfriends. She was like, sure, but you could always feel the judgment. You could always... And, I had a beautiful therapist who suggested to my brother and I, who's not gay, but also can feel my mother's judgment and shame, to like, okay, well, now we're going to slowly detach from my mother as the mother figure. We can still physically be around her, but in order for her not to hurt us anymore with what she says and does, let's internally detach from her. That was the plan. She could sense it, and it blew up over Thanksgiving, and that turned into us saying, okay, you're not our mother. We're not talking to you ever again.
I'm so sorry.
Ever again. That was harder than getting off meth, but it was also the best thing that's ever happened to our family. And the reason is because truly we thought no more mom, right? For 5 years, maybe with my other siblings' big lifetime events, we saw her, but it was cordial. So around 2020, and this is getting to the wedding, meeting my now husband, he really family means a lot to him. He comes from a very close family, extended family. He doesn't understand, like, you don't talk to your mom. He really wanted to meet her. And so I took him to meet my mother. And she lives in southern Utah. She finally married another Mormon and moved to southern Utah.
Right.
She's like back in her home country. And I'll never forget that trip because it changed everything. And this is leading to the wedding. And this is important because it's the climax of our journey. Because, I thought I did all this work while I was away from her, and I did. And everything was nice. It was like, okay, you could tell she was respecting my boundaries. It was really nice. But like by the fourth day, she said something that just set me off. And it was as if I didn't do any work. It was as if we were right back in there, and I couldn't believe it.
Right.
And then later my husband was like, he just looked at me so innocently, and he was just like, well, why don't you forgive her? I'm like, forgive? Like, do you have any idea what she did? Like,
Right.
He's like, well, at some point you just got to make the choice. And I was like, fuck you. Cause he was right. He was right. He was right.
Right.
He was right. And so I was like, I did all this work, but I needed to actively forgive her to change the habit of like reacting to her and stuff. So the rest of the trip internally, I was like, I forgive you. And this is the best part. On the last day, something inspired her to say to me, can I try something? Can I just take you in the other room? Like, my husband can stay here. I want to try something. I was like, okay.
This is your mom.
This is my mom. She brings me to the other room. She's like, can we sit on this love seat, little small love seat? And she's like, I don't know why, but I was just very inspired to have you put your head in my lap. I'm like, okay. You know, I'm 6'4",
Right.
you know, and I'm on this love seat scrunched up and I put my head on her lap and I'm really uncomfortable.
Right.
And then she starts petting my hair. I know. And she goes, I don't know why, but I was just really inspired to talk to the 4-year-old, especially the one that was abandoned. And she was like, I just want him to know I am so sorry.
Oh my God.
I'm so sorry for your childhood. I love you so much. I'm so sorry.
Okay, I want to jump out of my seat right now because I want to ask, of course, so did your mom go and do some work or something? Like, because that's pretty in-depth, sort of like, let me try and heal this moment with you.
Yeah, you know, but, you know, because of my dad, who my mother always said was an alcoholic,
right.
She has experience with Al-Anon.
Right.
She has an evolved mind, despite compartmentalizing, still being a Mormon.
Right.
Self-help, even mysticism stuff fascinates her.
Right.
She's heavy into yoga. Yet she's still very Mormon. It's a weird. She'll listen to me say this, and I'll say this to her face. It's a weird way of compartmentalizing everything,
right.
And she does it. And the experience of not talking to her rocked every person in our family.
Right.
And that, I think, cracked everybody open.
What happened?
So, well, I didn't...
Like, how did that... I want to know what happened when she said, you know...
She started crying. I could hear her cry, and she just really needed that 4-year-old to know how sorry she was.
Right.
And then in that moment, I said, you know, it's okay. I forgive you. And that was my release.
Wow.
And I have to tell you, like, from that moment on, so this is like summer of 2020, I've never been more in love with my mother. Like, we have the best relationship. It is on each of our terms.
Right.
We respect the boundaries.
Right.
It is so radically different,
right.
To the point where I call up my mom, give her the good news, we're getting married. She's tearing up. And then he's very close to his mother too and wants his mother to walk him down the aisle. And I was like, oof, I don't know if my mother's going to do that. And I ask her, and she tears up. She was genuinely so happy to walk me down the aisle at my very gay wedding. In fact, I invited my Mormon aunts and uncles, and they came. I mean, the wedding itself was just a love fest. Oh, here's the best part. As if my mom walking me down the aisle isn't the best part. The best part for me is after we kiss, we walk back down the aisle, we stop halfway through, we do another kiss, and there's this video and a photo of whatever. There's this video where if you stop it, you can see that very misguided brother who totally
right.
hate crimed, beat the shit out of his brother. I love you. My brother's not a faggot. He's standing at the end of the aisle, and he is beaming brighter. He is tearing up. He's cheering louder than anybody else there.
Wow, Sean.
It was incredible. Yeah.
Right. Look, I know I'm not supposed to do this, but I am supposed to do this because I know you and I love you. And I've seen you grow up so much, and there are all these other things that happened, and we're going to incorporate some of these pictures because I'm going to get them because I want everyone to see them as well.
See my wedding photo.
Yeah, and there's also, there's all this the healing that's happened through other things that you've done, like your love of acting, and I also know that you're an artist, and you're an incredible artist, and you have exhibits, and I know that you encourage other artists as well. So tell me a little bit about that.
Oh my goodness. That has been so unexpected,
right.
And fully unexpected part of my life. You know how we do? We suit up and we show up. That's what we do. Right. And you have the willingness to be willing. And, I actually a fellow in the program, I in between acting jobs, I did not want to do other jobs, but of course I'm willing to be willing. And I was his assistant. He was opening a gallery, and I loved it. And I was like, you need a gallery director. He's like, great, you want to do it. So I became a gallery director. This is 13, 14 years ago now. But while doing that job, I was like, I'm going to go home and paint myself. Oh, I'm terrible. That's why I'm painting, want to pay these artists $10,000 for their art. But I love this.
Right, right.
And I couldn't stop.
Right.
And I painted for years and years and years for myself.
Right.
I mean, it turns out, by the way, painting is so healing, especially for trauma. It does all kinds of stuff for the unconscious, for the brain.
Right.
There's science behind this.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
I didn't know that.
And a lot of people turn to painting to heal. And I think that there's a lot of, there must be a lot of truth to the healing in that. Where can people find your artwork?
It's on my website. So
What's your website?
Follow me on Instagram or my website is seanhemeon.com.
And I'm also going to list it in the notes for the podcast.
Yeah, and that the art blew up from there. Like once I was ready to show the world, I've been shown.
I need to have a piece, so I have to commit at this point that I'm going to have to own
a.
I need to own a Sean piece, and then your acting just continues to take off. I remember going through through your Instagram page, and you were on 911. I know you've done other things. So tell me a little bit about that experience with
They call her Miss Angela on set.
I love that.
The one and only Angela Bassett.
So tell me a little bit about that. And I hope that we can show a little clip of when she comes in and you tell her to...
Sergeant, have a seat.
I live for that. I live for that. So you continue to act, and it's something that you love, and you're continuing to get work. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why I came to LA. But trying to work in Hollywood is a gauntlet, and as I've discovered, you need a solid core to do this long term. And my core was made up of the 12 steps. Other people helped keep me together. Right. And so a lot of my success early on was but other people were keeping me together. And I had success. I worked on a couple of different shows, but I was terrified. I was terrified the whole time. Now with a deeper relationship with God that really works for me, still support from others, but not so much held up. Like I have an inner core that is based around love for God. And oh my God, I sound like a Christian. Not a Christian, but just like a deep sense of something greater than myself.
It's also experience and time. Because you've been here for a while and you've been doing the deal. And so I think that the perseverance that is built on that, whether we know it or not, it really holds us because of the foundation that we create. So, which
you only get if you stay sober.
Right.
Well, stay sober, but also not. For me, I had to go after the shame. Right. If I feel shame, I'm not going to learn whatever lessons there because I'm involved in the shame. So I had to go after the shame. I had to find a way to be okay with whatever was happening and love myself. Right. Without the shame, I learned. I grew. It expanded. It hardened, meaning the foundation. And so by the time I got back on set, opposite Miss Angela, I'm a little nervous, a little scared. I mean, a little Oscar winner.
Just say you were so in your body, and I was just so proud of that moment. And I was like, look at Sean.
Yeah.
Look at that life that's thriving. And it's a testament, right? It's a testament.
Yeah.
If you stick to it, if you get sober and you stick to it, you do the work.
Yeah.
And you're not afraid of the healing, and you're willing to even create boundaries that are painful. Right?
All of that.
That are so painful.
Yeah.
You've been through, religion, addiction, Hollywood, and now marriage. So if there were a Netflix series that was about your life, what would it be called?
Well, the title, can I say this now? The title of the memoir is The Good Little Drug Lord.
Right.
And the adaptation of that I am working on, the current title is The Good Little.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I'm working with.
The Good Little. All right. And so, God, this has been so good. So on some of these episodes, I like to ask people what they think someone or an idea or a topic needs to have a seat, right? So like canceling people became like, people just need to have a seat about canceling people. So is there anything that you can think about that's going on, or something that people say, or something that you could go, they just need to have a seat regarding this? It can be fun as well.
It can be fun as well. For whatever reason, maybe because I just saw a headline about it right now, but a lot of the trans rights, they just need to have a seat.
Right.
We need trans rights. It needs to be spoken about, but a lot of people giving their opinions on it need to shut. Like, it's devastating. Miss who wrote Harry Potter. Like, shut up. Take a seat, woman.
Good. J.K. Rowling.
That's her name.
Right.
Take a seat.
It's like a man's name. I think Jinx Monsoon said, "Is that a man?"
Oh, that's right.
That's what it's so good. Well, thank you for saying
man.
that. Right. The people that are attacking trans people need to have a seat.
Yes.
Right. So that's what Sean said. Sean, thank you so much. This has been great. And I know that you have been sweating through some of this, not because you're nervous or anything, but because it's warm here.
Am I really? Am I glowing? Am I
You're,
just-
well, listen, you know
I'm
what?
glowing
Like,
in the-
as I always say, you can't take a bad picture.
Oh.
You can't take a bad picture. Anyway, thank you for coming on to
Thank
have
you
a
so
seat.
much.
And I can't wait to see what's next for you.
I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Mwah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hey there. If you are enjoying our stories and our episodes, please subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and leave us a message. Also, stay tuned for another episode of Have a Seat coming very soon. Thanks for tuning in.